Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel. Give me teeth back in hell. With your host El Young, and we are here with Tom, from the band When They Riot. So, Tom,
Nice to be
introduce
here.
yourself. Cool. Introduce yourself and what you do within the band.
Yeah, so I'm Tom Woolwork. I sing and play guitar in When They Riot. We're like a three-piece grunge band. And I mean I'm not joined with them, but so we've got Bobby on bass and we've got Luke on drums as well. I've got a couple of little notes maybe.
Cool. So, yeah, starting some questions. Yeah, right. As a kid, what were you listening to?
Oh, so I mean, to be honest, I've been a musician since I was probably about 6 or 7 years old. So I kind of got into sort of, I mean, I was only born in like '96, so I was kind of getting into bands like sort of Green Day and stuff like that. But then, I mean, parents like sort of passing on bands like maybe The Cure, Jane's Addiction, Faith No More, and that was sort of as a very young kid. And I've definitely never forgot any of that stuff. Like that's still very much part of who I am.
Cool. So, who actually got you into music? Was it your parents, or a sibling, or a cousin, or a friend, or was it sort of like a journey of self-discovery?
To be honest, it was kind of a little bit of a mix. I think my like none of my family like are really musicians, like or at least not grown up. So it was kind of picking up what they were listening to, and then as I say, obviously getting into sort of being a musician myself at a young age. That sort of kind of pushed me on to have that usual thing where you just start sort of doing what we all do now, trying to find other bands, and maybe as I got older, pulling back things from generations that I'd missed. So I wouldn't really say anybody in particular, but I'd say kind of everybody at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's like sort of like, well, it's one of those situations where you're thinking you cherry pick sort of like from different people.
Oh, definitely, and I think that's the thing is, I mean, there's like plenty of different moments. I mean, I'd say it's a funny one really because that's mentioning my parents, but one of my earliest like sort of music memories was being probably about sort of 5-year-old and being at my grandparents' house, and like they put Queen live at Wembley on video, and just being sat in that's one of them shows that will just completely change your life. You're never the same after watching that. So it doesn't matter how old you are or what year you were born in. If you watch that show, that's your life changed.
Yeah. Speaking of like Queen, probably my defining moment was back in 85, where Queen played the Live Aid concert.
Yeah.
That I watched that live, and Freddie Mercury on stage in front of 100,000 people.
Just
in the palm of,
it's just
palm of his hand.
Insane, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that was my that was my defining moment with Queen, seeing Freddie Mercury on stage, and literally every single word he uttered, the crowd just went mental for him.
That's it. Honestly, I find it hard to think if there's anybody that's even came close to being as good of a frontman as he was. Like, just level above.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. He's pretty, like, for me anyway. Freddie is up there with the best,
definitely,
if not the best.
Oh, that's it. I mean, that's the thing. Is like, it really is just that showmanship that just, I think that, I mean, obviously great voice, great, songwriter, lyricist, all of that stuff. But like at the same time, it was really that showmanship that just took him just somewhere else. I think anybody that wants to be a musician, I think he probably falls into your sort of, history in some way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I've had discussions with people, and I said to people, if I can tell you one band that you would absolutely love, this is, what's that? Queen. And it just turns this, you're right.
Yeah.
it's got to be throughout the history of the band Queen. There's always going to be at least a couple of songs, if not a couple of albums, that they will say, turn around and say, "I've got this in my collection."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely. Just genre crossing as well. You know, like it doesn't matter whether you're into, say, metal or even like classical music. Really, there's something in Queen for you. You know.
Oh yeah, true, so true, so true. Yeah, so right, yeah, bit of a side tangent there, but anyway,
talk about that all day, don't we?
yeah. So who actually, out of all the bands, musicians, music that you've listened to, who actually out of those, who actually inspired you to become a musician?
Right. So I think so I think it's a hard one for me to actually think about, as I say, like because I've been a musician since I was about sort of 6 or 7 year old. I find it hard to think of a time before I ever played music, if that makes sense. But I can think of
Yeah,
the thing that made us think that this is what I want to do. You know, that this is actually what I want to do with my life. And it was so it was either my first gig or one of my first gigs was Green Day on the American Idiot tour. Milton Keynes Ball, you know, the one that they did the DVD for, that Bullet in the Bible. Well, that was
yeah,
one of my first gigs. And again, it was, I mean, I'd say it's the closest thing that I could have seen as a kid to the Queen Live at Wembley thing we were talking about, you know, standing there. And
yeah,
I mean, if anybody wants to go out and watch that on like YouTube or anything, like just go and watch that set if you've not seen it. It's incredible. And it's, again, just the showmanship and everything. And I remember being sort of 9 year old on my dad's shoulders and just being like, that's what I want to do with my life. Like, there's nothing else in it for me. That's me done, you know, like, so that was
yeah,
the thing that changed everything. You know, like you see that and you go, oh wow, it's like I guess for me, like obviously sort of missing the obviously to reference before, like the Queen generation. That was the thing where I could physically stand there in a field and look at someone and go, that is the peak of doing what I want to do. You know.
oh yeah. We've got a question from our head mod, Lisa Boo.
Yeah.
She asks if you could play with any musician, past or present, who would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, that's a good one. You know, it might seem like a bit of a cliche, but I think it's actually because of the style of the way you could play with them. I think I'd actually probably pull out Jimi Hendrix, and I think I would just want to be there with like a great rhythm section, you know, like a drummer and a bass player, and just be able to just riff off each other and just stand there and just play arguably the same song for about 35, 40 minutes of just endless stuff. Because it would just blow your mind. That would just be one of the most incredible things you could ever see. Like just in the moment
Yeah,
with Jimi Hendrix. Imagine that. Yeah.
yeah, I've seen some of Jimi Hendrix stuff on online, especially when he was at Woodstock or a couple of other. He could actually make his guitar just sing
Something
just
else.
by looking at it.
But I
Yeah,
mean, one thing I would throw in there as well, just as an honourable mention, I think if I was going to play a guitar and I was going to let somebody else sing, I think it would have to be Lane Staley from Alice in Chains. I mean, that guy, you know, just I mean, one of the best singers that's ever existed. So I mean, it's like getting the chance to sort of have that guy sing over some of my riffs. I mean, again, that's another thing that sort of makes your hair stand on end if you could think about it.
yeah. Oh yeah.
All
So
them both,
yeah, guys. Sorry.
all them both together.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you, Lisa, and keep the questions coming. Keep the questions coming. So, were you in any bands before you joined when they riot?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been in bands since I was about like 13 or so. It was like when I was in my first band. Sort of used to play guitar at the Sage in Gateshead, and ended up like sort of making some great friends there, and ended up like starting our first band. It was like a really dirty metal band actually. It was great. And then yeah, went on to be the vocalist in another metal band. We just used to climb things in venues and stuff. That was kind of part of what we used to do. And then sort of wanted to make a bit of a shift away from that, like sort of play something that was sort of metal inspired, but was maybe a bit lighter. And obviously, I've always liked sort of singing, and I've always been a guitarist, so that was kind of the evolution of how it went from sort of being in much heavier bands to eventually sort of forming When They Riot, you know.
Cool. Yeah, so getting on to When They Riot. Yeah, what has the band been up to, especially over the last year or so?
Oh, so I mean, so within the last year, we've been doing so it's like our third EP. Like so, we've been sort of sat there recording that ourselves. So that's all like mixed, mastered, kind of ready to go. Basically, we're on 3 singles so far from that record, and we just put the most recent one out well within more or less the last week. So that was a song called Bedlam, and then just sort of trying to pull on like as many shows as like we can fill the time in as well. And I think the first few months of it was obviously, you know, you spend a lot of time making sure that the record's kind of sorted, and then I mean now obviously, you know how the modern music industry is, we're filming music videos ourselves, we're doing everything at the minute. So and then that's just in time to go and play Tramlines Fringe tomorrow.
Cool. Yeah. So could you tell us a bit about the latest EP with where the song Bedlam comes from?
Yeah. So Bedlam it's basically I mean to be honest, the song's like more or less a couple of years old now, and has just kind of managed to make it onto this record, like thankfully. It's basically I mean, to me personally, the song's about like sort of when I got to sort of 25, 26, and I had just that sort of quarter life crisis of I don't know what I actually want to do. I don't know where I actually want to be, or who I am, or what I should be, who I actually should be, you know. And so it was about kind of challenging that and kind of coming to terms with that. But I think I tried to go a bit further than that, like, and make that for anybody. So it's not really necessarily about a quarter life crisis. It's more about just kind of any internal crisis, anybody trying to figure out who they really are. And I think Open Season as a whole, like the EP, I think we tried to cover that quite a lot. You know, it's a lot of sort of challenging who you are, where your place is in the world, kind of how the outer world kind of affects you. You know, that there's some political messages in there as well, which I'll spare you from my ramblings, but you know, listen to the record. Yeah. So there's like plenty of stuff. I basically just sort of an analysis of kind of what it's like, sort of, well, living in this day and age, you know.
Yeah.
Not like all metaphorical,
Yeah. I've got another question from Lisa Boo.
Yeah.
She asks, is there a favourite venue that you like to play at?
That's a good question. You see, now I'm sure the lads would all have their own different answers for this, like, to be honest. But I think for me, I'm happy to play literally anywhere that you could possibly play. But there's certain sort of stories or shows or like venues that really sort of stand out as to like being just sort of something a bit different, you know. Like I remember like we put a show on a tour that we did like a couple of years ago with a band called Radio Aftermath. Check them out as well. Where we actually sort of took over the basement of a sports bar and turned it into a music venue, and that was a one-time thing that will never ever happen again because of Leeds City Council, to be honest. And so that was honestly just one of the most fun things we've ever done in our entire lives. Just there was like, honestly, there was TVs on the wall that kept turning on during my sets and everything, and it wasn't the best put together, but it was absolutely fantastic, that show. But I'd say favorite venues to play, I think there's something kind of special about getting to play in Sunbird Records in Darwin, and getting to play like anywhere back in the northeast as well. I mean, me and Luke are both from sort of like the northeast area, and like Bobby's from Darwin. So obviously that's all three of us, even though we are a Leeds band. So there's something special, regardless of the venue, about like playing these like really cool sort of shows back where we come from. You know what I mean? As great as it is playing in Leeds, it's nice to get home as well. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry if I costume, but there's just too many venues to even think about. To be fair.
You well basically you could go on about each venue. It's like different like pros and cons for each venue type of thing.
And that's it. Like sometimes, you know, I mean, I'm definitely not going to name any names, but you know, sometimes you turn up at a venue and maybe it's not the best put together, but then the show itself actually turns out to be the sort of one of the best ones because it's kind of that environment to put on a show for maybe a band like us, you know. So I think I guess that's where the mentality comes from to sort of be up for playing literally anywhere. Is it's the people that make it fun. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. As long as you've got a good crowd in the venue, it doesn't matter what type of venue it is. As long as you've got a good crowd there.
Definitely, 100%. You can have a good laugh anywhere.
Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. About So, are you writing any sort of like new material for the next EP or album?
Yeah. So at the moment, basically, I'd say we've probably got about anywhere between 15 and 20 tracks sort of in the process at the moment. Obviously, we've got we've got like a couple of months until the whole EP is actually going to be out, and then it'll be sort of hitting the ground running with those. So at the moment, we're sort of trying to narrow down from 20 to roughly 15, and then we want to kind of take those in and then narrow that down again to something sort of a bit more listenable. Do you know what I mean? So, but I mean, either way, we're in the stages, yeah. So there's honestly plenty of demos. I mean, you should see the working titles of them; they're absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So, is there any sort of like gigs? I know you mentioned tramlines earlier on down in Sheffield. But is there any other gigs coming up that you want to that you planning on doing?
Yeah, so I mean, as far as stuff that's like kind of recent and you know, something I can actually tell you a date of. So we've got obviously, as you mentioned, we've got Tramlines Fringe tomorrow. So that's at Make Noise Studios in Sheffield. We're on just after 9 or something like that. So if anybody does live in Sheffield, pop down and check it out. It's free. And then on the 4th of September, in Leeds at Porto, we've got where we'll be supporting like our friends Radio Aftermath in like their EP release show as well. So that basically, if you live in Leeds or Sheffield, keep your eyes open. And then as far as towards the back end of the year, keep your eyes peeled as well, because we'll definitely have some stuff that's a bit more spread afield as well.
Cool. Yeah. So going on sort of like on the sort of like gigs side of things. So if everything was aligned, planetary stars aligned, financial, you got the finance behind you. Would you sort of like do a tour of the UK, possibly going into Europe or North America?
100%. I mean, obviously, as well, I mean, as I said before about the sort of the venue question, really, it's you know, I'm happy to play anywhere that they'll have, you know. So obviously, finances allowing, you know, I'd like to do, you know, I mean, obviously, North America would be absolutely amazing. Europe would be absolutely amazing. I mean, obviously, if in a world where everything had gone to plan, you know, I probably wouldn't want to stop there. You know, if there's shows available, you know, anywhere else in the world, I'm up for that. I mean, it's to be honest, I'm one of those people that kind of wants to see bands do proper world tours. You know, like I don't want to see bands go out on a world tour and it be sort of 10 shows in North America, say 4 shows in Europe, 4 shows in the UK, and that's it. You know, like I'd rather see people play all over the world if they can, obviously, but like that spread the music around, spread the love, you know. Like,
oh yeah, I've seen bands where they only, especially when they do like a world tour, they'll only do 4 shows in the UK, whether it be London, Birmingham, Manchester, and Glasgow.
Yeah, And that's the thing. I understand. Obviously, bands have got to be able to like sort of sell these venues. You know, obviously, it's got to be worthwhile. Sort of. I mean, nobody wants to talk about the finances of music, but obviously, like it does have to be like financially viable. But I think at the same time, some of the countries out there that like have got massive music followings, like in their countries, and just people maybe sort of pass them by just because maybe it's like there's, I don't know, people have some kind of made up idea about what it's actually going to be like there, or they don't want to like plan the logistics of going around a whole region of the world. But I think it's definitely something that everybody should be more open to anyway. As I said, like spread it around, get it to everywhere you possibly can.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I know that there's a lot of people out there can't afford the ticket, but they can't afford the travel.
Yeah.
Or exactly. the hotel room.
Only getting more expensive as well, isn't it? So it's kind of the better that people can make it for everybody, you know. So at least as long as the band can actually afford to get there and obviously have their sort of their things covered at the same time, you know, just take it to the people, you know, just spread it around, make sure everybody gets to do it. Nobody left behind.
Oh, yeah. True. Going on to sort of like the merchandise side of things, is there any sort of like new merchandise coming out, or is there any merchandise?
Yeah, so we've funny enough, I actually make the t-shirts. So I actually screen print the t-shirts like upstairs, like in my bathroom. So yeah, we've got kind of 2 colors that should be on our big cartel right now, but we are taking them to all the shows that we've got as well. So if you come and see us and grab them, they just kind of like got our logo kind of here, and one of them's in like a sort of olive green and the other one's in a white. So yeah, check them out if you get the chance anyway.
Cool. Now I have to ask this question because I know there's a couple of people in the chat there who will literally lynch me big time if I don't ask this question. Is there any plans on putting the EPs that you've put out already? Is there any plans of putting them on vinyl?
Oh, you see, now this is something that we have been dying to do for a very, very, very long time. Basically, is I think to be honest, ever since we started putting music out, I mean, it's like we all collect physical copies of things, you know. So like, obviously, I completely understand the question. I think if I'm absolutely honest about it, we're just struggling to find somewhere that isn't like a minimum order of like 1,000 copies, you know, and that like, I mean, to be honest, I don't even know where I'd store 1,000 records in my house and have them so that they're not going to be warped by the time you got them, you know. So I'd say definitely keep your eyes peeled for that, because we will at least have some form of CD version of the new EP. And as far as the old records, I'd say stay tuned on that as well, because there's like our first 2 EPs. We're sort of thinking about doing something with them, but I'll leave that very vague at the moment. But yeah, just stay tuned to what we're saying. If you're after those, we'll get them sorted for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, because I know some of the people in the chat do like the physical copy, whether it be a CD or vinyl.
I'm the same. Honestly, I am exactly the same. It's just it has been one of those things where we just keep trying to find. So I mean, obviously, also if anybody does know any good companies, just fire us a message on like Instagram or Facebook or something, and we'll get those sorted. I think we just want to make sure we've got something. If obviously if we're going to do it, we want it to be something good for people to spend their money on, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the thing. You want a good quality product at the end of the day.
Of course, I mean we've worked hard on the music, so it should be something that you can like keep a hold of for a long time, you know.
Yeah. I was going to say I've got records, vinyl records, from that I've had from the early 80s.
Yeah.
And every now and again I might pull them out of my storage and play on my record player, or you know what I mean. Yeah.
I mean,
So
I think the one of us for that is Luke, our drummer. Like he's got a massive record collection. He absolutely loves them. I mean, honestly, I think he's. I mean, to be honest, we're all pretty much fighting over who wants them the most. So trust us, they're on the way somewhere. Somewhere they'll be sorted.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you say like, that's just yeah. So where can that's get me teeth biting. Where can people find you on social media?
Right. So we are. So we're at When They Riot on like all social media. So I mean, I'd say Instagram and Facebook are probably our like main resources. So I mean, we post quite regularly on there. So I mean, keep up to date through that. If you want to listen to our music, we're on like all major streaming services. You know, like Spotify and everything. We've got music videos on YouTube. And I mean, YouTube Premium do a streaming service now. Actually, done it. So we're on that as well. So yeah, basically anywhere you usually get your music, just search When They Riot and you'll find us.
Cool, cool. Yeah, guys. Sorry.
Same with social media as well. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no worries. So, guys, I've put when they write links to in the description, and Lisa Bruce posting them out as well. So, yeah, go check out the band because I've listened to Bedlam and Necropolis just before we went live. So, damn good band. So go check them out.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Really appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, any more questions, guys? Please put them in the chat. We're going to be starting wrapping things up in about the next 5-10 minutes. So, my last question is: any advice for people who want to become a musician?
I'd say just. I think. Probably my first bit of advice is when you start playing any instrument, right? It's like when you actually sort of have that first thought and you go, you know, this is like I want to grab an instrument. Maybe it's not even to be in a band or anything. Maybe it's just as a hobby. See out that first period of time when you're struggling. And I mean, I think anybody that's learned to play an instrument can tell you about that period of time when they first had one in their hands and they couldn't play it. And it's a bit sort of disheartening at times when like you sort of maybe pick up a guitar and you're struggling to kind of play the chord and whatever. If you can stick through that and get to a point where you can play that chord, you've then gained one of the most sort of rewarding things that I've ever had the sort of the great fortune of actually learning to do as a child. You know, I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it wasn't for actually playing an instrument. And I think even if you don't want to do this as like sort of, you know, you don't want to throw a load of money at it and try and see where you get, you know, like it's, even if you just want to do it for you, you know, like really seriously just kind of power through that bit where your fingers hurt, power through that little bit where like you do struggle, and honestly you'll have like something for the rest of your life. And I think that's what it's all really about at the end of the day. That's kind of what keeps me sane, or as close to sane as I ever am, you know. Like
That's what I think. That's what I keep hearing every time I listen. Ask the question: is do it for you, do it and persevere.
Yeah, do it for you and keep going. Exactly that. I think that's the best advice that anybody can give, because you know I think obviously we've still got a lot of sort of like hopes, dreams, ambitions of like kind of where we want this thing to go. But at the same time, if you take all of that away, even if you take When They Riot away, you know, like we'd all still be musicians that still love our instrument and still our instruments and still like love doing what we do. And I think that's the most important thing to play an instrument for, in my opinion, anyway. So stick at it.
Yeah.
And if not, then maybe why not?
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like most people who I've known over the years who do play instruments do for themselves, just for the pleasure of it.
Definitely 100%. I mean, that's the thing. I absolutely love writing music. I absolutely love playing it live and all of that. But at the same time, if you take all of this away, I'll still just be the same as I was when I was a little kid, just kind of sat here in my house playing guitar. you know, it's what I'll always do.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, I think that's about it. I think for especially for me. So Tom, thank you so much for coming on and doing this little interview. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, honestly, thanks for having us. Like, really, thank you a lot, and thanks for the questions as well, everybody. Like, it's been great.
Yeah. So guys, go check out When They Riot. All the links are to their social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go check them out. They are absolutely brilliant. So, yeah. Again, Tom, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, mate. Thank you a lot.
So before we go, any final words?
No, just I mean, I suppose just just keep enjoying yourselves, you know, like check us out, maybe don't check us out, whatever it is that you want to do. I'm not going to force you to do anything. Like, but no, honestly, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble on, and yeah, thank you for having us again. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure, Tom. So until next time, guys, we'll catch you all later.